What is going on? Welcome back to the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. My next guest, he is the sports director of the CBS affiliate in Macon, Georgia, Channel 13, WMAZ. I am so glad that this guy is coming on because, covering sports in Columbus, it's nice to branch out and to talk about sports in the other markets. And sometimes our paths cross, especially like when Southwest is playing Spencer in basketball. Please welcome to the show WMAZ Sports Director Marvin James. Marvin, how are you?
I'm doing great, Richard, man. I appreciate you having me on your show, brother.
Absolutely. All right. Tell us your beginnings. How long you been covering sports in Macon? Where did your love for covering sports start?
Well, we'll take it back to high school. I graduated from Warner Robins. I'm from the Macon, the Central Georgia area. Graduated from Warner Robins High School. We had a great football program, great tradition there with football. I was kind of not sure what I wanted to do with college. I'm a military brat, so we had been there for about a year or so before my senior year. And we had a powder puff football game one day. And that's, for the younger folks out there, that's when the girls played flag football and the guys were the coaches and all that good stuff and cheerleaders and all that. So I decided to go up in the booth and be the PA announcer because I was like, I didn't want to coach. I want to do that. So as I was up there, had my little boom box and I had my music. And I was like, man, I was doing the first downs and all that stuff and welcome everybody. And then when I came down, my English teacher, Mrs. Sheila Keener, told me that you have a voice for radio. Like, you need to do this. This is something you need to do. And she just planted the seed right there. And that helped me go from that point to where I am now. In May, I'll celebrate 25 years in the business. Been at 13 WMAZ as a journalist, played multiple roles from video journalist to chief video journalist to assignment editor to now in the sports department. So it just, let that be a lesson for anybody to plant a seed in a young student's mind. You can really help them with their career later in life.
Absolutely. And you've done a great job. This is a sister station of WRBL. I know you know Jack Patterson very well. I know that you guys were talking today. And I wanted to make sure, Marvin, to let you know when I was calling that Spencer Southwest game to give you a shout out. And feel free to use any highlight footages if any time a team from Macon is playing a team from Columbus. But your teams from Macon are doing well. The Central girls, they're in the Elite Eight. The Southwest boys are in the Elite Eight. Really, what is the buzz for high school basketball right now in Macon and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, I got to tell you, just Macon in particular, back in the 70s and 80s, you had to come through Macon literally, not just because the finals were in this at the Coliseum, but you had to come through the Southwest programs, the Northeast programs back in the 70s and 80s because they dominated basketball, both boys and girls. Northeast Raiders, they won, I think, 5 titles on the girls' side, and Southwest that had some of them prominent pro basketball players with Coach Don Duck Richardson that came through that time. And so it's just good to be able to get that buzz back. And the one thing that the Macon family, the Bib Athletics, has a rule on is that once they're eliminated from the playoffs, they all branch in and join in to root for the rest of the Macon schools. And I think that's a really good thing because a lot of the coaches that are that have played, that are coaching now in Bibb County, used to be players, not necessarily at their schools that they graduated from, but they're there. So they want to create that culture, that winning culture that we're going to support our own. So the Macon schools are doing very well. I'm excited to see what Coach Monquincio Hartnett is going to do with the Southwest boys and what Coach Tamara Nicole Bolston Williams is going to do with the Lady Chargers. They're both looking really good right now, and it's going to be exciting going forward.
And one thing about the Macon fans, they definitely travel. Last week, we were calling the Spencer Region Championship. The Spencer girls was taking on the Central Macon girls, and the Spencer boys was taking on the Southwest boys, and the fans packed the stadium. And Rutland was in the tournament, too. You had some Rutland fans there as well. I'm just impressed with the Macon fans and their support for their high school teams as they travel well, as you could tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think that the Bibb County and Macon, they're hungry for a playoffs. They don't take it for granted. It's one of those things where only two teams are going to go to a state championship, and only one's going to win it. So you got to enjoy the playoff run while they happen. It's not one of those win or bust things for this city. I think the city is just taking it back to an appreciation of how the kids are excelling level to level, and to be in the Elite Eight is such a great accomplishment for a team. I know like I said, everybody wants to make it to the Coliseum, but it's only going to happen for two teams in each classification. So I think that you should definitely not put your head down to be able to get this far.
Marvin, let's talk about the surrounding areas that you cover around Macon. You go down to the Warner Robins. I mean, you had the Little League World Series team that won it in 2007. Peach County with all those championships in the late 2000s and the 2008, 2009 seasons. Up in Forsyth, I mean, Mary Persons has been doing a great job. But really, what is that buzz like, not only covering the Macon area for sports, but the surrounding areas like a Forsyth, a Warner Robins, a Milledgeville, or Fort Valley State, that area?
It's truly a blessing because you get such a great sampling of all sports and on all levels. I mean, you talk about Mary Persons, they have that rich tradition in football, as well as the Peach County, and they have such a rich winning tradition in these sports. Not only just in football, but then in spring sports as well. Houston County just coming off a high school state championship in 6A. And I think they won like 4 over the last 7 years, baseball titles, and they look poised to run it back, at least to make a long run in baseball. Soccer as well. We're still catching up with the great teams of Columbus there, because they do a great job there in Muskogee County. But yeah, it's just such a great sampling of sports here in this area. We still have Baldwin, both the boys and the girls, in the state basketball playoffs, and they're both looking really sharp. First year head coach Ben Smith is over at Baldwin High School. He came over from Dublin. So it's just such good talent here in this area on all levels. Fort Valley State, Georgia College. We just got Middle Georgia State. It's about to enter into the Peach Belt Conference. So that's going to be exciting to be able to see the Middle Georgia Knights enter into that arena as well. I'm just very blessed and very fortunate to be able to cover sports in this area, and just to be around such good, talented athletes. I mean, it's not just like you said, you watch them from Little League, to watch Jake Fromm play Little League baseball, to see him being the star quarterback at Georgia is an amazing accomplishment. And now he's in his 4th year playing pro ball with the Washington Commanders. So, things like that are just amazing. Roquan Smith, great player, and I've watched him, I've covered him since middle school to high school. So, there's a plethora of others, and I don't want to leave everybody out, but there's so many great skilled athletes coming from this area, and good kids too. So that makes it even better.
Marvin, there is one school right there in Macon that is an NCAA Division I school that really got put on notice, and I'm talking about Mercer University. The Mercer Bears have had a rich tradition of great athletics. If you talk about the early days of Henry Bibb, Sam Mitchell making the NCAA tournament back in 1985, to recently, and you're very familiar with this, 2014, it put Mercer on the map when they upset Duke. I got to ask you, Marvin, what was that feeling like in the city of Macon when Mercer just pulled off a monumental upset? They were a 14th seed, and they beat a number 3 seed Duke team that had a good player in Jabari Parker. They had a very stacked team, but they ended up getting the job done. And really, what was that moment like for the community of Macon?
I got to tell you, that's one of my probably one of the top moments covering sports in this area. And by even that's even up there with the national championships with Georgia, because it was such a huge monumental upset. I'm actually working on a story that's going to air on Wednesday night at 11 on 13 WMAZ, so you guys can check that out. The 10-year anniversary of the win.
Mm-hmm.
Got a chance to catch up with 10 of the guys or 9 of the guys on the team. They're all over the country. 2 of them are still playing professional basketball overseas. One is a coach at Charleston Southern, and the rest are, productive citizens and doing well. So yeah, just taking you back to that moment. I think, after they won the A-Sun tournament and beating Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City, everybody was just so excited. Picking Duke, I think people were excited that they were getting a chance, but obviously when you're going up against a big juggernaut as such as Duke, you're thinking, this is not necessarily going to go in our favor. But this was a different Duke team. This Duke team had a bunch of 6-year seniors, a bunch of 5th-year guys, a bunch of just 4-year guys that have been there for a long time. This is before, obviously, the NIL and the transfers. So these guys have been there for a long time and committed to this program. So they weren't your average young team. And going up against a Duke team that literally was very young. They had Jabari Parker, who was a lottery pick, but they didn't have much depth beyond that. So I think it was a perfect storm for Coach Bob Hoffman and those Mercer guys, and they went through. But just watching that game and being there in that game, because Wes Blankenship and myself were able to go to Raleigh and watch that game, and just to be in that presence of the game and see it happen is pure elation. Like I watch, everybody watches March Madness, and to be a part of a one shining moment, like we all watch that video at the end, and it gives us the chills and the goosebumps, and probably a lot of us don't admit we get the teary eyes at the end of the night watching that game, but to see it in live action unfold was like, this is what it's all about. And it was just a great, to call back home and to see the videos that we saw on our air from, elementary schools and middle schools were letting their kids out during lunch to watch the game on the big screen, and to see Mercer Village full of students watching it outside and cheering. It just really makes you feel good for the Cinderella teams and understand what that truly is about. Now, 10 years later, I've seen Cinderella teams win it, and I know exactly how that feels for those programs. And it's so big, and it's such a great moment to have for the rest of your life. These guys now, I'm sure they go to Applebee's, they go to Olive Garden. People may not recognize them, but when you find out that they're a part of them, you just want to sit up there and ask them, how did it feel? What does it feel like? And they have great stories. They're very humble. And I'm just, I'm just forever indebted to being able to cover that with Mercer. I don't know if I'll ever get anything bigger than that.
Well, the sports scene in Macon is really incredible. Macon is also the home of the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. Recently, this past weekend, we had the induction ceremony for the 2024 class. It's a very good class. I like the fact Sharif Abdul-Rahim, you got Eric Berry, one of the hardest hitting safeties, Brian McCann, Chris Carpenter, the legendary coach Paul Johnson. What was that scene like? And did WMAZ cover that? Is that a Macon event, or was that something that was for the state?
Oh, it's a state event, but we're so blessed to be able to have it, so we don't have to travel very far to cover it.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, it's just a great event. Shout out to Coach Paul Johnson. He was my coach at Georgia Southern my last 2 years there, so I was very proud to be able to be a part of that. I actually sat in on the early stages of selecting folks to get into the hall. It's not the final stages, but it's the early prelims, and it's a very detailed process. There's so many worthy players and coaches and just people that are so worthy of getting into this. So it's very cool just to see them get in. But yeah, to see those Braves that we idolized and watched so much, and it's just a great feeling, because these guys have been to the mountain, they've been to the top of their craft, and it's always good to see them come back and be proud that they're being recognized. And none of them take it for granted. And the fact that they show up, like you said, some of these guys have very busy careers, and they don't necessarily have the time, but they make the time to come back and to be recognized, because the state of Georgia is so well known for sports on all levels. We're talking baseball, we're talking tennis, we're talking, boxing, basketball, football, soccer, even soccer now, track and field. There's so many different levels of athletes that are coming out here that are recognized internationally, let alone throughout the state. So yeah, that time is always good. You get to rub elbows with some people like, I remember Ernie Johnson being here a couple of years ago and being able to rub elbows with guys that you've seen on the larger stage, and you're just so proud to be, somewhat a colleague, if you will, just being in the sporting realm. So it's always good to be able to be a part of that. Every year they have it. It's not long enough for me. I wish it could be like a 3 or 4 day event, but it's definitely awesome to see those guys get recognized and given their flowers, while they can smell them.
Absolutely. And we did have the jacket ceremony. We had Fan Fest on Saturday. 3 other players that I forgot to mention: Carolina linebacker Thomas Davis, who played at Georgia, Georgia Sports Communications Director Claude Felton, who just recently retired, and tennis star Wendy White-Prasa were also the 2024 inductees. I think the hall is just great to go to, especially if you love sports in Georgia. We've had some great sports moments in the state, and just going to the Hall of Fame right there in Macon is really a treat if you're a sports fan, especially if you love the history of sports. Like you mentioned, Warner Robins, the Little League in 2007. Columbus has our own championship in 2006. And then we got the 1996 Olympics, and just so many great events.
Yeah, I think that is a well-kept secret. It's one of those things that they're not trying to be a kept secret. They want people to come on out. Because when you go in there, you're going to learn something. I mean, I go in there quite often, and I learn something new every time. I'll sit there. There's so many times I've said, man, I didn't know they were from Georgia, or how did I not know that they had an affiliation to Georgia? And I think that's the best thing about it, is that you learn something every time, because there's so many different, just venues within there, and there's so many different scenes that are part of it, so many different jerseys. And obviously the history of sports, transcends, hundreds of years. So when you go in there and you say, wow, this exhibit is amazing, I did not know this. So I think that's the coolest thing about it. Even if you're the biggest sports buff, you're going to learn something new. You're going to see something that catches your eye. You're going to find out a fact or a factoid that you did not know. And that's the best thing about it. It's a great venue to be able to go a part of. One thing about Georgia, you got to go through it a lot of times as you're passing through going to Atlanta, or you're coming through going to Macon, or you're going through Savannah. Set aside an hour and a half, pull aside, go downtown, get you some good food, and then take a chance to check out the Macon not Macon, but the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame on Cherry Street. You definitely be glad you did that.
Absolutely. Macon is a very unique sports town. Like Columbus, we have our semi-pro teams, the Columbus River Dragons. We also have a minor league baseball team coming in 2025, the Columbus Lions indoor team. Macon has got the Macon Mayhem, and they also have the Macon Bacon. And you covering these two teams, what is the fan bases like? What style do they play? I know the Macon Mayhem is in the SPHL.
Yes, right.
They're a league a little bit above the River Dragons. The River Dragons are actually in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. But what is that like, covering the Macon Mayhem and also the Macon Bacon when their season starts up?
I think at one point we were sharing. I think you guys had the Cottonmouths or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think they played in the same league at one point. But yeah. Macon Mayhem is a very strong team, rich tradition. It's 50 years celebrating Macon hockey here in this area. Like, that's impressive. Now, I'm sorry, it might not be 50. I think it's 30 years. 30 years, because we had the Macon Whoopie in the 70s. That was a part of this community. And then from there, we went to Macon Steel, and now we have the Macon Mayhem. So yeah, the one thing about the Macon Mayhem right now is it's a shared league. So a lot of the players go to the ECHL. So that you get a chance to see some good players, and you get to see some not so good players, but you get to see some players that are growing into the field of hockey. A lot of times it's like a AAA or a single A, actually a single A Macon league or hockey league, and it's very entertaining. I think one of the things they do a great job of of doing some I won't say halftime shows, but shows in between the periods. And there's just so many great theme nights. So you're going to have a great time, whether they lose or win. You're going to enjoy the atmosphere there. And the Macon Bacon, I mean, what can I say? They were a part of the Savannah Bananas for so long in that league, in the Coastal Plains League. And right now they're standing alone because the Bananas have branched out. But again, they're the same thing. They do a great theme night. They do great entertainment throughout the night. They have fireworks after every game. They have different specials of a menu full of bacon products. So you can't go wrong with that, right? So there's always going to be something there in the concessions for you with there. And the baseball is really great because it's college all-star baseball, wood bat league, if you will. So you're going to get guys from all over the map, not just Georgia, but you're going to get guys from, the Midwest. You're going to get guys from the SEC. You're going to get guys that are going to be coming there to play. And they're really trying to do well because some of these guys don't necessarily get all the reps at their college, but sometimes some of these guys are just looking to keep that bat alive. So it's very entertaining. It's very high level, I would like to say. And again, what's better than going to a baseball game, in the middle of the summer to have a couple dogs, to have a couple of cold ones on Thursday, and just really just enjoy the game at its purest form.
Marvin, this has been fun. Before I let you go, tell all my viewers and listeners where they can find you on social media and how they can watch you in the Macon area. Or can they watch you online if they're not in the Macon area on WMAZ?
Absolutely. You can download the WMAZ 13 app. It's all over, your iPhone or your Android services and providers. So you could definitely go and do that. And we provide live shows and viewings from 5 to 6, and then 10 and 11. So you can go ahead and do that. That's a great device for you. And you can also go onto our YouTube channel, WMAZ Sports. And on Twitter and Instagram, I'm available on at Sports Guy Marv. I'm very interactive on my social media platforms. I'm always engaging, talking back, speaking back, answering questions, showcasing practices and behind the scenes. I'm trying to get into the TikTok thing. I have a couple videos that I posted behind the scenes of me going to Jordan or going to a couple high school games here. That's still a lot of extra time. I don't know if you ever deal with TikTok, but it's a lot of work, but it's very entertaining. And I know a lot of people enjoy it. So I'm trying to work more on that and giving some behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, man, it's just all about promoting the kids. And I know I say that a lot. And I shouldn't say kids because some of them are adults, but I'm promoting the youth and the athletes here across the state. They do such a great job. And my favorite is actually going to the local games. I mean, it's nothing more than to go on the road and follow one of the teams from the area, and they see you and they see that mic flag and they get excited because they're like, wow, we're about to be on TV, and so that's always what it's all about. Now I'm a seasoned veteran. So when I'm out and about, sometimes people say, hey man, you got me in high school. You did my game. You said my name on TV. And that makes me feel good because I remember doing that to my mentor, and Frank Malloy, who's at 13 WMAZ now as our main anchor. But yeah, it was a great opportunity to do that. So it's fun times, man. It has its good days and bad days, but for the most part, I enjoy it very, very much. Right now it's softball, it's college softball, baseball, college and high school baseball, soccer, and track and field. So we got our hands full.
Well, Marvin, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and coming on the show, and love to have you back on.
Always, man. Just give me a holler, man. I appreciate the time. I'll text you my number, so anytime you want to get in touch, we can do this.
Absolutely. WMAZ Sports Director Marvin James, a CBS affiliate out of Macon, Georgia. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching us on YouTube and on Facebook and listening to us on WQEE 99.1 FM. All right, that's it. That's our show. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we're out of here.